Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from my book, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, while I prepare for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running a Tales of the Valiant game set in the Dragon Empire of Midgard. All of that is Kobold Press material. Tales of the Valiant is a Kobold Press version of 5e. Midgard is the Kobold Press home campaign setting, and the Dragon Empire is one section of that. This show is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of tips, tricks, tools, and books and adventures and scenarios and stuff to help you run your fantasy role-playing games. You can also get access to the incredible community over on the Sly Flourish Discord server, and you help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. So we are doing a heist. So the Dragon Empire, just a quick summary of the whole Dragon Empire campaign. The characters are inside of the largest and richest empire in Midgard, called the Maraudi Empire, which is ruled over by 9 dragons known as Morza, 9 very powerful dragons called Morza. And they are in continual war with their neighbors, and they're constantly seeking new treasure, but they have made an alliance among each other that they will not war among one another, and that has made them far stronger than everybody else. The characters are there to fleece the Morza. So the characters want to thwart the empire. That's their goal. They're kind of an underground movement that wants to thwart the empire. And boy, there is no better way to convince the players to follow through with that than telling them that all of the treasure that they receive, they only get to keep 5% of it, because 95% goes to the Morza. 95% goes to the Dragon Empire. And as soon as they heard that, they said, like, F that. Like, we're going to figure something else out. And so it became a very interesting, treasure is now, one of the things that I kind of wanted to have in this is that treasure is a burden, that treasure is a responsibility, and that you have to figure out how to manage it, because you don't just get to walk into town dressed in all your fine garb and jewels on every finger and fancy magic items everywhere, because people will know you got it from somewhere, and the dragons will want to know where, and they will want to know why you didn't give your cut. And if they catch you stealing from them, and keep in mind, any coin anywhere down in the depths, it belongs to them. It doesn't matter if it was undiscovered. It doesn't matter if it was in a tomb from 1,000,000 years ago. Anything inside the Dragon Empire is theirs. So you are stealing from them if you find a tomb and take an item from it, which is fun, and you'll get burned. Yeah, right? Dragons will come and burn you if they find you stole from them. So now there's this interesting bit of pressure that's there. And I kind of took this from a TV show I watched a long time ago called The Shield, and there was this one season of The Shield. It's all about corrupt cops. I'm going to spoil The Shield, because it's been around forever. It's not that great a show, really. But one of the seasons of The Shield was them stealing from the Armenian mob. And the whole season was about them figuring out how to rob the Armenian mob of this giant pile of money that was going to go through their city. And at the end of the season, people are shot and all kinds of terrible stuff is happening, and the whole thing is a mess, this giant season of them trying to figure it out. And then they get it, and they're standing there, and the 4 of them, 2 of them have already got the money, and then 2 of them run up after the first 2 manage to actually get a hold of the money. And the 2 that run up see this giant pile of cash, like it's a 5-foot high pile of money. And they smile at it, and then they look at the other 2 who are frowning, and then they look at the money and they frown too, because now they realize, what do we do now, right? We have, I think it was like $50 million of Armenian mob money. Do we think they're not going to come looking for it? Do we think, what can we do with it? And then the next season was them figuring out what the hell to do with all this money. And I think it ended up with them burning 90% of it, because they realized that it was just going to get them all killed. And I love that story idea. So the idea of your gold is a risk, right? That treasure is a risk. Feels really fun to me. And I want to kind of put that into my Dragon Empire game. So in the latest scenario, the scenario that they picked, they are on their way to rob a caravan that is overtly carrying textiles, a special kind of silk known as cloud silk, that has been transferred through the Marathi Empire and is on its way to the Nuria Natal, the region of Nuria Natal, which is outside of the Dragon Empire and an area that the Dragon Empire is often feuding with and sometimes has these great big wars with them. Currently, they're not at war with Nuria Natal, but they have been in the past. And there are laws among the Morza that they will not trade weapons or magic that can bolster their enemies. Right? That like one of the things they said is like trade is okay and like stuff like Cloud Silk is okay. But the transfer of magic weapons and magic items and stuff like that is forbidden because it weakens the Empire against their enemies. However, one of the dragons has decided, well, I think I'm going to do it anyway. And so they're setting up an illegal trade route. The dragons are setting up an illegal trade route. So they hired or conscripted or did something to this band, to this merchant company. And the merchant company is the one that's carrying the Cloud Silk. But they're also bringing a bribe to guards that guard the borderlands of Nuria Natal, to bribe not just guards, but like scouts and smugglers and other things that are on the other side on the desert regions outside of the Morza, outside of the Dragon Empire. And so the characters learned about it, and the characters have this option of like, what do we do about that? And they came to like, well, why don't we just go steal? Like there was a lot of talk like, what if we support it? Like, what if we allow this to happen, but then we're skimming from the top? And like the problem is you're gonna be skimming from a dragon, and the dragon's gonna know, and that's gonna be bad. So they eventually just said, why don't we just rob them? Let's just go rob them. Like, let's go steal it. So they found out where they can meet up with this group. They left ahead of time. They did some smart thinking and said, let's leave a night early so that we're at least a half a day ahead of them, and we can get to a good spot where we can ambush them. And along the way, they found these like weird floating cacti that these like cactus blimps. And they found out that there was a bunch of hobgoblin deserters from the Morza armies there. And so they fought the hobgoblins, but they did not kill them. They knocked them out or blasted them back, and then talked to them and realized, oh wait, these are refugees, or not refugees, they're deserters of this corrupt army. So, hey, why don't you join us? We hate them too. Why don't you join us? And so now they've got a band of hobgoblins that have joined them as well. And they are, I hope I wrote in my notes the names of this. I bet I didn't. Let's see if Past Mike Shea was helpful or not. So now they got the hobgoblins, and now they're continuing their journey. So the beginning of our adventure today is them continuing their journey. It's a long journey. It's like a multi-day journey. We actually have a map and stuff like that to look at. And they're traveling down there, and I'm probably going to have like basically two encounters along the way. One encounter along the way, then the main scene, and then we'll figure out where it goes from there. 3-hour game, so I don't know that I have to have too much. And I do, probably this time is when I want to start thinking about, well, what are the other options about what they can do, right? What are some other quests that they could go on in this scenario, or in this campaign? So we are using Obsidian to do our game prep today. One thing I found, I was doing some of my own research, as they say, on the Dragon Empire, and I found a really good 4-paragraph description, which I'm going to read, from the Midgard Heroes Handbook. So the Midgard Heroes Handbook has like a real, a good, rich summary of the Dragon Empire that I think we can use to kind of solidify what the Dragon Empire is in this. So, in the empire forged by the legendary dragon Marat, the Dread Sultan seeks to expand the borders of his desert realm into the lush farmlands of the Crossroads to the north, the islands and coasts of the 7 cities to the west, the vast plains of Kahandari and Asharda, I don't know where those are, and the magic-ridden riverlands of Nuria Natal to the south. Ruled with a scaly fist by powerful dragon lords and their dragonkin descendants, this growing empire inspires fear in all of the other borders. Often the best solution is for the neighbors to pay tribute, lest they fall to claw and fire. Conquest, trade, and tribute have led to a golden age of prosperity in the powerful young empire, and the markets of the empire cities are unrivaled. Masterwork, jewelry, armor, and weapons are commonplace. Golden treasures are found in abundance here. Even mighty war oliphants and battle lizards are available for purchase if you dare ride them. The empire's most recent conquest is the Grand Duchy of Alaria, once called Land of 1,000 Heroes, despite its sky militias of hippogriff riders and stout defenders in hills and mountains. Clever dragon generalship and overwhelming numbers eventually brought Ilaria low, though at a price in blood and sorrow. To make up that cost, the newly conquered lands are being quickly turned into defensible towns and productive mines, to better to feed gold, silver, and steel to meet the needs of the Marathi Empire armies and to fuel their next conquests. The Empire's wealth has led to an explosion of draconic art and architecture. The largest building in Midgard, the Temple of Veles, is in Harkish, the magnificent capital of the Empire. Harkish surpasses any other capital with its mighty elemental temples, its schools of philosophy, magic, and theosophy, as well as fractious schools of brawling elementalists where dragonkin windpalm devotees vie with scaly fiery fist monks for bragging rights. Adventurers can find draconic intrigues, unique treasures, and dragon hordes, and fabulous glory and fame fighting against or for the dragon and dragonkin conquerors. So there's a few things I really like in here, and some of them I think I'm going to make secrets and clues. One of them is the fact that there was a big war that occurred and was a very bloody war in the Grand Duchy of Ilaria called the Land of a Thousand Heroes. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab that and stick that right in a secret and clue. So first we need to do is we're going to make a new session note template. I have create a new note from template, and I have Dragon Empire, and right in the secret and clue, I'm going to drop that. I don't need the whole thing about hippogriffs and mountains and stuff like that. I think that's a good one because I think that the hobgoblins that they met, I think the hobgoblins are refugees, I keep calling them refugees. They're not refugees. They're deserters of the armies that were sent to go take Ilaria. And I think the idea is that they, it was just a bloodbath, right? Like they sent, like so many soldiers were just sent into battle, almost like the Soviets going in against Germany, where like they had machine gunners shooting their own troops to make sure they kept going forward, and they weren't equipped well. Like they were just considered fodder for the machine, and that these hobgoblins were like, we're just going to die. And for who? And so they deserted, but now they were hunted by the Dragon Empire for desertion, and they made their way far to the south. They've been traveling for a long, long time, and then hid here in the hills for a while until they ran into the characters. So I think that's going to be a big piece of it. Let me go to my session notes from last week and see if the Rusty Barbs, Kasharak and the Rusty Barbs. They said that makes a good band name. So we have Kasharak. Past Mike Shea was a good guy. He kept notes on things. And these are hobgoblin deserters of the northern armies. So was it the north? Where is my campaign notes? I think it was the north. The Ilaria battle was to the north. We can go look at the map and find out. Against Ilaria. And I think like the strong start is Kasharak describes the bloodbath at Ilaria. I think that's a good strong start. And he'll describe that. So like what happened, tens of thousands of ill-equipped jackals, the Jambuka, they were sent in against the Ilaria forces, losing in some cases 10 soldiers for every one on the other side. The dragon, the dragon soldiers, and they have a name. Let's go to my Dragon Empire here. Dragon Empire. I have my Midgard book up in another window here. Akanji. The Akanji generals had flame drakes who would burn any retreating soldiers. The self-inflicted casualties almost eclipsed those lost on the other side. So how did he escape? How did they escape? So they were mercenary. Oh, let's see. They weren't a mercenary company. So the Rusty Barbs were an elite force. A fireball that killed most of them blew open a tunnel beneath the mountains. They escaped that way, but lost 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 to the ghost. What are they called? Not the ghost walkers. They were called the ghost folk from the previous. Yeah, they're called the ghost walkers. Okay. All right. That's a lot for a strong start, but it's mostly conversation piece. The ghost walkers have vast chasms filled below with thousands who worship the pale matriarch. I've already kind of said that, but now they'll have a first-hand account of that. The Dragon Empire won the campaign against Ilaria, but at a terrible price. At terrible expense, right? To the dragons, everything is an expense. They don't care about human loss. They don't care about humanoid loss, especially if it's non-scaled folk. They care about the cost. This set back other campaigns on the other borders. That's a good mix. Let's take a quick look at Ilaria. Let's take a look and see if Ilaria is in the index. Wouldn't that be nice? There's no index. Why? So let's start at the top here. Great Kingdom of Ilaria. Let's see, that's in the history. I want kind of more details. Where is Ilaria? So let's go to Midgard Map. Midgard Map is a fantastic mapping tool to help us locate regions. We are going to, for funsies, we're going to do the hex map because and let's see. I think Ilaria, where is Ilaria? This is the Dragon Empire region. Is it across the sea? How is it spelled? So Ilaria is not in the search list here. Paranelia, Maria and the islands. We have Nuria Natal is over there. I'm pretty sure it's not off to the east. Kazbatan. Now we're up in the Midgard Kingdom. It's not Krypton, the island. Man, the zoom is kind of janky. No problem with that. So I don't know where Ilaria is. All right, I'll keep searching in here. So 7 years of Grand Duchy of Ilaria fell to the assault of the Dragon Empire, and its nobles fled the Drake's Perch to Torelio and Raz Grulia. The dragons now rule over the new province of Rumela. So it happened 7 years ago. I think that's okay. Could this group be that old? Right? I guess 7 years isn't a long time. Illyr. There we go. Is that in the Rothirian Plain? I feel like I'm really close. Ooh, Demon Mountain. That sounds cool. God, this zoom is terrible. I wish I could lock it. There is a lot of descriptions of Ilaria in the Dragon Empire section. Griffin Crags. Southern Griffin Crags. Let's see if I can find that. Griffin Crags. Okay. So this is the area. All right, right here. And this whole area is Ilarian. And let's see. And that puts it... Yeah, so they probably escaped down the Dragon Coil Mountains. Right? This is that area now known as Rumela. And they made their way... How do you spell Griffin? With an O, Griffin the Crag. It's now known as Rumela. Okay, so that was a lot of research for not a lot of gain. Characters. Let's talk about the characters. What do I know about them? We have Amavin. I can't keep track of who is who. Well, I think we've got... Let's go to our big character list here. And I think we've got everybody today. So we have Gaudenzia, a small folk gnome ranger nomadic outcast who runs the food truck at the 4 or 40 Fingers with Blue Glacier, the white dragonborn. They are inventor of the Drake Park water, where they bottle water and sell it to people that came right out of the ground. We have Cal, an elf druid cottage homesteader. Mother is Orthania Darkbloom, who runs the local apothecary at 4 or 40 Fingers. Cal lost their vineyard to the Dragon Empire and got divorced from her wife as a result. We have Amavin, an elf rogue cosmopolitan criminal, was raised as an orphan to be a spy for the Dragon Empire, but fled after some kind of event, and now is under the wing of Master Kiprick. We have Rowan Kirkland, a dwarf fighter salvager rustic, nephew of Cleon Forgekin at the local forge, was here to avoid being sent to war and slaughter. We'll learn about that. We have Matteo Castillo Grigo, a mechanist Sidrian appointed partisan from the Seven Cities area. A soldier who works alongside Master Kiprick. So those are, and then we have Tolstoy, a beastkin rat wizard outcast who wants to take down the Empire. Their motivations are not monetary. They really want betterment for the people, even though their patron is a follower of the lower left hand of Nakaresh. So those are our characters. We can keep them in mind while we're considering what's going on. So the scenes are an evening with Kasharak and the rusty barbs. Oh, we're not seeing Obsidian. Boop. There we go. So we have an evening with Kasharak and the rusty barbs. Are there choices there? So one thing is like when you have a scene, especially a high narrative scene where Kasharak's just going to tell them about the war. What are some things? So I think like I've already forgotten. This is kind of cool. I didn't realize that you can have tabs open, so I can have multiple tabs. Yay! So I think that both Amavin and Rowan are aware of the bloody campaign of Ilaria. So they at least they will know some stuff. Are there any other decisions to be made there? I don't know. You really want to have like what are the choices in front of the characters? What can they do? Like when there's conversations going on, what can they do? And I don't know. I don't have a great answer for that. So then the next scene, I want to steal from the last campaign because I had a good one set up and then didn't use it, which is in the Southern Badlands, the Oasis, and they're going to see mutated owlbears. I have to make sure to get the owlbear minis for that. That sounds really cool. And then what did we call it? The bloody pass. Let's see. Did I call it something already? The Canyon of Blood and the heist. And then some possible choices: return to the 440 Fingers or bribe the scouts at the border and it's the desert region, which is Sarkland Desert, to establish trade route, an underground trade route, right? A fence. What do we call that? Bribe the scouts at the border to Sarkland Desert to establish a smuggler's route. That can be an option. I think those are kind of the two big choices then. But then we have like next quests, right? And we can steal some from the session we had before. There's still the bounty on the hideous creature, and there's still the map. So those two still exist. We can make our lives easy by only having those two quests. And this idea, so this is a quest pattern that I really like. And the quest pattern, I got this from Dragon of Icespire Peak, which is you get 3 quests, you pick one. You finish that one, you come back, the other 2 quests still remain, so you pick one of those. And then the third quest is no longer there. You can't quite do that when you still like have the map of the Forgotten Crypt, but you might say that like, oh, another group found it, right? And then you remove all the quests and start with 3 new quests. And that way the quests are refreshing, and that way they don't have dead quests on their list that no longer, they don't care about anymore. This is probably enough because it's quite possible the players are going to come up with quests of their own as well, based on the whole setting up the smuggler's route. And I might have to riff off of that. So I have some options for me to put on the table if I need them without having to think too hard. That way I'm not wasting a lot of time. So that works. So we've got our characters, strong start. We have some scenes. That all looks good. So some secrets and clues. I'd still love, I'll have to do more research later, but I'd love to know more about why the dragons went after Ilaria. I mean, I can always make it up. Like Ilaria was a rich kingdom that sat on lots of mines of gold, silver, and platinum lines. The Dragon Empire always had an eye on Nuria Natal and its tremendous magical potential, dreaming of forges, of massive magical forges to fuel their war machine, global war machine. Campaigns against Nuria Natal are on hold because of the great expense of the Ilarian campaign. So what else? So let's look at our, again, harvesting. Let's look at our secrets that we had before. So the secrets include 5 general ranks within the hierarchy of the Dragon Empire: the Morza, the Ramonli, the Tamarli, and the Sekban, and the Jembuka. They learned that. This is I'm going to just stick this in my, I love having tabs. This is handy. I learned a thing about Obsidian today. I'm going to put that in my notes just so I have it handy, because it's a thing that continually comes up is who are the ranks. So, Morris Gemborn seeks to become an Armanli, but his motivation and experience for is really lacking. They learn that Agents of Parsis, the Golden Wind, ruler of Batek, seeks to build a hidden trade route between the regions of Gizmiri, ruled by Adisha, and Mazar. That I'm going to pass it forward, but I think they already know this. It's mostly like, what are they going to learn when they jack the caravan? So they seek to fund a Sarklan all the way to Nuria Natal. I need to have the names of, like, who are they working with? So which tribe? I need to have, like, who are the scouts that they're working with? I'm going to have to fill out because they might run into them today. Seek Caravan is fronted by a silk trading company licensed and operated under the Marathi Pact called the Wilvan Ashadar Trading Company. So I've got that. They already know that too. So I'm putting a bunch of stuff they already know, but it has a lot of proper names in it that I like. They're secretly trying to set up a path for magical artifacts. Parsis, the Golden Wind's agents, are setting up this illegal trade route between Batek and Nuria Natal with plans to transfer money and magical artifacts back and forth. That is a good secret that the caravan guy will know. Wilvan Ashadar Trading Company is bribing a desert smuggling ring known as the Desert Winds. See, there we go. Who operate out of a ruin known as Aram, the City of Pillars in the Sarklan Desert. Now we got some good stuff. So we can kill these guys because that was the one that had all the good proper names in it. We're even going to bold it. Bang, bold it. Bold some things so that we can see them easier in our notes. Secret Caravan is fronted by a silk trading company licensed operating on the Marathi Pact. That, the fact that they operate, well, they have the name Ashadar in it, so I'm not going to forget that. I'm only worried about, like, forgetting the proper names, because there's all these proper names. Proper names are really important, right? Like, we want to describe specifics. The caravan travels between Gizmiri and Mazar. It's traveled through the 440 fingers on its way to the Gadigia Hills. It's expected they'll meet the desert winds outside of Kukamara. This is a good one. Best place to take the caravan is outside the eyes of the Dragon Empire, but before they reach the desert is outside of Kukamara and a valley known as the Valley of Blood because of how often trade caravans go missing there. Do I have the Valley of Blood? I think I have that in my scenes. Yeah, called Valley of Blood. That's good. Bands of gnolls operate around the region with even less civilized monsters, making it ideal for a trade caravan to get lost. The Wilvan Ashadar Trading Company hired mercenaries known as the Silver Hands. So we're going to put those in my monsters. We have Silver Hand mercenaries. I'm also going to put a gnoll group in there. So my fun for the big heist is that while they're in the middle of the heist, a band of gnolls is going to show up and complicate things. What's a cool name for a band of gnoll raiders out of the Sarklan Desert, or on the edge of the Sarklan Desert, kind of in the Badlands? Fangs of the Blood Moon, and they're gnoll raiders. Now, it's very possible, and I kind of want to be happy with this, that when they run into groups like this as they're traveling, it's very possible they're going to recruit these groups. So they could now have not only a band of hobgoblin deserters that now work with the group, but also a group of gnoll raiders. That could be fun. So I think if we look at our Braden the Goblin Chaser, so we have a couple of NPCs they're going to meet. They are actually met. We're going to have Bradek Grimm as an orc noble who operates the trade caravan. Fantastic locations. We have the oasis of... So let's see. It's an empty oasis, right? A lifeless oasis. And then we have the Valley of Blood. And there was a couple. We have Kukamara, which we're going to... Kukutarma. These names are hard. And that's a ruin nearby. So Kukumtara is right there, and that's where things are going to occur, here in the Gida Hills. What a name. Not crazy about that name, but whatever. So the Gnoll Raider, Fangs of the Blood Moon, are Gnoll Raiders of the Gida Hills. Gida Hills. I guess it's fun to say. Any other locations? I think we're okay for that. So we're going to have mutant owlbears. Let's take a quick look at the owlbear, because this is probably the first encounter that's going to come up. We have our monster vault right here, Tales of Valiant Monster Vault. And we are going to look for owlbear. Good old owlbears. Who doesn't love owlbears? Mutant owlbears. They are CR3 with 80 hit points. So the characters are level 2. So in our notes, I'm just going to jot down monsters, and I'm going to put the lazy encounter benchmark. And we have 6 third-level characters. 6 times 3 is 18, divided, right? 6, 12, 18. Divided by 4 is 4.5. So we have an encounter benchmark of 4-ish. So that means 2 would be well outside of deadly, or well outside, could be potentially deadly. I'm a little worried about having a single monster. I'm a little worried about having a single monster versus 6 characters, though, because the action economy is not great. So we could have a CR3 mutant owlbear. And what's the mutant part? I think probably it's just going to be description. Oh, and the fact that it causes fear. But maybe its reach is longer because it has like tentacle arms. Like, it can always go with tentacle arms. What would be some other creatures that tend to hang out with owlbears or hang out in an oasis? We could have vines. Is there any other? So what we can do, because we know challenge rating wise, we want lower challenge rating monsters here, but we're looking for a monster probably in the quarter range. There's violet fungi. There's giant lizards. Always love your swarms of rats. We could have mutated giant weasels. Those would be kind of fun. Giant wasps. Who doesn't love giant wasps? I think the giant wasps are really tough too. Let's go to... Are they under animals? Insect, giant wasp. Oh, we have scorpions too, right? Do we have giant scorpions? Oh, they're CR3. That's a little tough. But the giant wasp are only CR 1/2. Sting, 6 piercing damage, and the target must succeed in DC 12 or take 10 poison damage. Oh, look at that. 16 damage at CR 1/2. I could, when the wasp takes damage, it can release a scent perceptible only to other wasps. Each wasp within 10 feet has advantage on the next attack. I like this without the poison. So we might throw a mutated owlbear and giant wasps, and maybe a couple of these. And these are on page 345. Write down your page numbers. Be a friend to your future self. Where's that owlbear? So we'll see how that goes. Like, giant wasps are kind of cool. And the idea, like, maybe the wasp mutated the owlbear. So the wasps have some kind of weird thing going on. 272 for the owlbear. That works. Silverhand mercenaries. We have 1 veteran. So we're going to have regular guards. All right. Where's our NPCs? And we're going to have guard. They're only CR 1/8. They go down pretty quick. We could make them a little tougher. We could make just double their hit points. And they'll be a little bit tougher than that. But otherwise, and then give them like crossbows. Crossbows with their spear attacks. They have crossbows and swords. That the damage is still correct. So Silverhand guards. And we're going to use the stat block on page 366. But we're going to make them a little bit tougher. Well, I mean, we could make them thugs. And then they have pack tactics and stuff. I mean, this is a little better. Like, we can remove their brutal and pack tactics. So maybe we'll do, the guards will be thugs. Because they are mercenaries. 370. And then we have a veteran, the main guy, Esmond Alaven, Silverhand veteran. And the veterans are tough. CR3, page 371. So that's handy. We can pull him out of there, so we're not wasting space there. And we have gnolls, the Fangs of Budnoom gnolls. And we're just going to use regular gnolls. I was looking at them. Those are creatures. And gnolls, we have 190, page 192. And they are CR 1/2 themselves. And I think about 6 gnolls is about right. Now, an interesting thing about this like big fight is that it could be a multi-wave fight, right? Like, they're going to have hobgoblins on one side. That's the other thing about like the mutant owlbear and the giant wasps, is that we could have like 4 giant wasps and two of them go after the hobgoblins. So that works. What do I have left? I think just treasure. And did I have a hoard of treasure before? I did, and I like this. So I think we'll just grab this because they never got it last time. Drop her right in. Trade bars of Parsis. Potion of healing. Well, we're going to give a couple of these, like 4 times. Potions of healing. Nightmarish Emerald Vial. That casts Conjure Minor Elementals once. That's good. What does Conjure Minor Elementals look like? 4th level spell. You summon elemental creatures that appear in unoccupied. 1 elemental creature of 2 or lower. 2 elemental creatures of 1 or lower. 4 elemental creatures 1/2 or lower. Some creatures are friendly to you and your companions. Some act on your initiative, taking their turns immediately after yours. They obey any verbal commands. I think that's fine. 4 elemental creatures is a pain in the ass, but it's better than 8 wolves. I could just say that it summons. How long does it work for? Concentration for an hour. So in this case, you don't have to concentrate. It will last 1 hour, but it's only a CR2. CR2 or lower, only 1 creature. We'll do that. Because having a bunch of people is a pain in the ass. Is there anything else I need? What else do I need today? Oh, I want to see some fun. Why don't I show you the setup that I'm doing today? When I have the opportunity, I like to use my fine Dwarven Forge products to kind of make things really fun. And I built this layout for my game today to show the valley. I thought it would be a cool way to show the valley. It's nice and big. It's a 1 foot by 2 foot build. It has a nice natural bridge over it. And the idea is some of the scouts will already be up there. So they'll have to deal with scouts as they're coming up and figure out how to ambush them as they come through. I think that will be fun. And the gnolls are going to show up at some point as well. That'll be fun. The problem is transporting this thing. I have these 2 great big plastic bins called really useful boxes. And I had to put each half of this in 1 bin. So I have 2 bins plus another thing I'm going to do is I have a Lazy Susan, a 20-inch Lazy Susan that I can put this on, so you can actually spin the whole thing on the table, and that way people can aim it and look at it from different angles, on top of the fact that it's this great big 3-dimensional sort of display. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to use this year's setup. And it's one of these things where you can tell something is expensive when you refer to it as I invested in something rather than I bought something. I invested in this. And I'm damn well going to use it whenever I have the opportunity, even if I have to lug it to my friend's place. So it'll work. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be a big set piece fight because we're going to have waves of combats and stuff like that. So I think that'll be enjoyable. And I think there's a dark altar up here that if you go near it, you can, take in some villainous energy and maybe get advantage on attacks or plus a D6 necrotic damage onto your ranged attacks or something like that. Blessing of a dark god. So that's fun. Is there anything else I need for this today? I don't think so. I think we're good. So I am going to print this out file. Oh, and one quick, a little bit of a plug. This here layout is actually available as a virtual tabletop background to patrons of Sly Flourish. So patrons of Sly Flourish have a thing called the Dwarven Forge Virtual Tabletop Backdrop, which are ways to drop this backdrop into your virtual tabletop of choice and use it in virtual games. There's more than 100 of them in there now. And every time I build one of these, I take a picture and make it transparent and set it so that you can drop this into your own virtual tabletop. So you too can enjoy these builds that I create. That is available to patrons of Sly Flourish. One of the many features that patrons of Sly Flourish get. They get lots of features. Something else that we get is stuff like the templates for exporting to PDF. So I'm going to export to PDF. We'll try it at downscaling to 85 and we'll see how that looks. No, it's slightly too big. So we're going to drop it to 80. When you do the scaling, export to PDF and try that. That should almost certainly fit because there's only 2 lines over. There it is. Perfect. If you want to see what that is going to look like, I have that is what my page looks like that I can print out and throw into my notes. And I'm going to do so right now. Print 1 single sheet of my notes, nicely formatted, easy to read. It's got all the info. It's got page numbers of monsters in there, all kinds of stuff. So we are good. This template, if you go to, in the show notes, there's a thing about using Obsidian, and in the Obsidian page, there's a description of how to create a custom style sheet in Obsidian to let you print a 2-column, nicely formatted layout like this one. So that's how you do that. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while we prepared for my role-playing game. If you enjoyed this show, the best thing you can do to keep up with all the stuff I do is subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. You get a free adventure generator for signing up, and you get a weekly RPG-related article that includes links to all of the other work I do, including all of my tips for the week. I've got a lot of stuff in that newsletter. Please check it out. You will not be disappointed. And again, it is free. You can also support me through Patreon. Patrons get access to all kinds of cool things like the virtual tabletop backgrounds, but that's only one. All different kinds of tools for Forge of Foes, tools to help you generate random things for your games, all kinds of tips and tricks and booklets and scenarios and all kinds of stuff that you get. Hero tier subscribers also get an exclusive podcast and a new set of scenarios built on the City of Arches that I've been working on. And you help me put on shows like this. And you can pick up any of my books at the Lazy GM's book at the Sly Flourish bookstore. You can find a link to the bookstore in the links, and you can get Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Companion, Forge of Foes, and others available on the Sly Flourish bookstore. Thank you all so much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.